Imagine you open your eyes. Your eyelids are heavy. There's cold stone under your cheek, and your mouth tastes of blood and dust. You want to scream, but your throat is hoarse from thirst. Your hands are shackled, your feet are worn raw. Above you, the sun is bright and merciless. It shines down on those who are doomed. You were sold. You are a slave. But not just a slave, you are a gladiator. And tomorrow, the crowd will either shout your name or trample your corpse. Who are you without a sword? Can you survive when every step you take is a step on a razor's edge? If you're ready to walk this path, to feel the shackles, the pain, the triumph for yourself, subscribe to the channel and hit like so you don't miss the most thrilling dives into the past. Now you're not just a spectator, you are a gladiator. I opened my eyes. The first thing I saw was a crack in the ceiling. Thin as a scar, it split the stone in two, as if someone had punched the sky. I tried to move, and the shackles immediately rattled. Metal, rusty, heavy. They were on my wrists and ankles. My breath came out in rasps. I felt as if my lungs were half filled with ash. My chest was burning, my mouth was dry. I didn't know how I got here. Just fragments, screams, darkness. Someone grabbed me. A blow, and that was it. Now I'm here on a stone floor in a windowless cell with chains instead of hands. I heard a voice. "He's awake," someone said from behind the door. "Let's see how tough he really is." The door, a wooden door, creaked open. A man appeared in the doorway, wearing a short leather tunic with a whip at his belt. He didn't look at me like I was a person, more like I was a tool. "Get up," he snapped. "The Lanista didn't buy you so you could rest." He tossed something to me. I caught a piece of stale bread. "The arena's tomorrow. I hope you don't die right away. Training's expensive." I wanted to ask, "Who are you? Where am I? What's going on?" But my lips barely parted. I didn't even have the strength to speak. He left. The door slammed shut again. Only silence and the breathing of others remained in the room. A voice in the darkness. "Are you new?" A voice came from the corner. I turned. Someone was sitting there, barely visible in the dim light. An old man, wrinkled with a tattoo on his neck. He didn't look dangerous, but he spoke calmly, almost gently. "Welcome to the Ludus," he said. "A school for people like you. Slaves, soldiers without an army, the living dead." I began, but my voice broke. "Don't waste your energy on the foreign languages. Tomorrow, Matador, tomorrow you'll go out there, all on your own. In the morning, they'll line you up, give you a wooden sword, and watch how you handle yourself." And then I exhaled. He fell silent for a long time, then smirked. "After that, you'll either become a spectacle or fertilizer for the arena." I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, the same one with the crack. It already felt familiar, almost like a reflection of my own fate. Fragments of the past pulsed in my mind. The village, my mother at the door, a thunderstorm, voices, torches. I didn't know if I would ever come home again, and what does home even mean now? A shout woke me in the morning. Someone banged on the door. "Everyone out, now!" I got up. My knees were shaking, my body ached. The chain rattled with every step. They were already waiting for us in the yard, row after row. People just like me. Men, boys, old men. Some with fresh bruises, some with a distant look in their eyes. The overseer stepped forward. "You are nothing. No names, no status. Just bodies. But we will either turn you into weapons or bury you." He clapped his hands. "Follow me." We walked chain to chain, one after another. I walked barefoot down the dusty road. Stones dug into the soles of my feet. Passers-by looked at us like we were animals. Some spat, some laughed. Gladiators, they whispered. That word stung my ears. I wasn't a warrior, I wasn't a killer. I was just a person. But now everything had changed. Time to learn about death. They led us down a long, dusty corridor. The stone walls echoed with the sounds of footsteps and clinking chains. It was stifling. It smelled of metal and sweat. Every step felt like Judgment Day. At the end of the corridor, there was light. A wide courtyard, rectangular, surrounded by walls. On the sand stood wooden dummies, posts, shields, and people. Dozens of them. Some were punching bags, some were hacking at targets with blunt swords, some were lying in blood. I didn't know if he was sleeping or dead. "Welcome to the Ludus," the overseer said. He pointed at us with his whip. "Remember, here, they don't teach you how to live. They teach you how to die beautifully. The crowd demands the spectacle. If you don't learn, you'll become their breakfast." He walked up to me and looked me over carefully. "Strong, but stupid," he smirked. "That means you'll survive." They tossed a wooden sword into my hands. It was heavy. Not a toy, a real weapon, just without a blade. I could barely hold onto it. "Get into stance," the trainer barked. "Right foot forward, shield to your chest, sword to your opponent's neck." I tried to copy him. My muscles ached. My legs were shaking. The trainer came over and struck my shoulder. "Don't stand there like a tree. In a fight, you either hit or you get hit." "Got it." I nodded silently. Names aren't needed. The old man from the cell was here too. He was standing next to me. His movements were precise, and the sword was like an extension of his arm. I whispered, "What's your name?" He didn't turn around. "Doesn't matter. Here we don't have names, only nicknames." He pointed at a tall man. "That one is Wolf. Because he bites his opponents. And that one is Stone. Because he stays silent and stands like a statue." And me, the old man looked over. "For now, you're nobody, but that can be fixed. If you survive." First blood after 3 hours in the sun. My arms wouldn't obey me. The sword felt like a burden. The sand beneath my feet was hot. The sun beat down into my eyes. Sweat poured down my forehead. I fell. The trainer came over. "Get up." Couldn't. He struck me in the side with a wooden stick. "I said get up." I groaned. I wanted to stay on the ground. I wanted to disappear. But something inside me made me get up. I got up trembling. Not because I could, but because I realized that if I didn't, I wouldn't survive. Evening. After training, they led us back. No dinner except for a bowl of boiled porridge and half a cup of water. I sat in the corner, my back aching, my arms burning. I could feel every muscle, even ones I never knew I had. The old man came over and handed me a piece of bread. "The first day is always the hardest," he said. "What about the second?" I asked. "The second is worse because by then you already know what's coming." I ate the bread. I felt empty inside. The silence was so thick, you could hear water dripping in the corner. Ahead, a few of the gladiators had gathered in a circle. Someone was laughing. Someone else was braiding a rope out of rags. I approached hesitantly. One of them, a young man with a scar on his cheek, looked at me. "You're the new guy?" My name was Chan. I fell silent and he smirked. "It doesn't matter anymore. Here you are whoever you prove yourself to be on the sand." He patted me on the shoulder, not harshly, almost in a friendly way. "Tomorrow we'll see who you are. I hope it's not carrion." Laughter. But not mocking, just simple, genuine laughter. For the first time all day, I felt like I wasn't alone. Night number 2. I lay down on my mat. In the darkness, I could hear someone praying, someone crying, someone laughing somewhere, and someone just staying silent. I didn't know who I was now. I wasn't who I used to be, but I hadn't yet become who I was meant to be. I was on the edge between fear and rage, between the past and the future. And somewhere out there, far away, above all the roofs and walls, I could feel it. The arena was waiting. Morning of the second day. The second day began before dawn. We were woken up by a sharp shout and a bang on the door. My bones ached as if I'd been beaten with stones all night. I struggled to get up, leaning against the wall, but something inside me had changed. Yesterday I was in shock. Today I was already expecting the blow. Through the sleep and pain, I felt you're no longer a victim, you're a student. The student of death. The first rule of the ludus. In the training yard, we were met by the lanista, the very one who had bought us. He was short, but stood the way only those who are used to giving orders do. Listen carefully, he said. There are no rights here, only duties. You are not warriors, you are actors with swords, and your stage is the arena. Anyone who doesn't learn to be interesting will die quickly, and no one will remember his name. He walked along the line, looking each of us over. First rule, listen to your trainer. Don't think, just do. Second rule, don't lie and don't steal. In the ludus, you'll be killed for that faster than in the arena. And third, your brothers in arms are not your enemies. Your back is their back. He fell silent, then added with a cold smile. But remember all of this only until the day you're put up against each other. The trainer, our trainer, was named Marcellus, a former gladiator, huge and silent. He had claw marks from a lion on his chest and a scar on his neck that nearly reached his ear. He didn't shout, he just watched. If you did something wrong, he would simply come over and hit you. Not out of anger, but out of habit. He demonstrated blows not with words, but with gestures. Hit like this. Hold your shield like this. Step like this. Not like a person, like a machine. I'm learning. I started to understand. The sword isn't just a piece of wood, it's an extension of your body. The shield isn't just protection, it's a second hand. And the enemy isn't a person, but a threat. First you defend yourself, then you add a attack, you try, and then you act without thinking. Every morning was like a training session. Every evening there meant exhaustion. Every night there was a struggle to survive until tomorrow. The first hierarchy. Over time, I started to recognize the ranks. There were newcomers like me. We were called novices. There were seniors, the ones who had already fought, the veterans. And then there were the elite, the doctors. No one touched them, even the overseers listened to them. I noticed one of them, long-haired, with a frozen smirk. His name was Dexter. He wasn't just a veteran, he was the arena's favorite. Charismatic, fast, ruthless. Don't mess with him, an old man whispered. He's dangerous. Why? Because he always smiles before a fight, and then kills without changing his expression. It was the first day. The fall. One day during training, I made a mistake. My sword slipped, and I lost my balance. My opponent, a tall, burly German, shoved me. I fell face first into the dust. Everything froze, even Marcellus. And then someone in the crowd laughed. Dexter, well, looks like our new hero has found the ground, he said. I wanted to get up, but my muscles wouldn't obey. Marcellus came over. He didn't help. He just tossed my sword back to me. Get up with your weapon, or die without it. I got up. Then, on trembling legs. But something clicked inside me. I decided that I would never fall like that again. A shower in the evening. They let us go to the baths, the old bathhouse, not to relax, but so we wouldn't stink in front of the distinguished guests. The steam burned my face. The water was dirty, but warm. Someone was singing, Someone was dozing off. Someone was sharpening a knife. I sat in the corner, leaning against the wall. An old man came over. "How was your day?" "Better than yesterday." He nodded. "That's how it should be. You feel how your body is breaking. That's good. It's becoming something else. And your mind, if your mind can endure, it will become your best weapon. If not, they'll replace you quickly." Persnob the Lanista came into the barracks. A rare occurrence. Usually, he didn't lower himself to our level. "Tomorrow we have guests," he said. "A senator. His son needs a show. We'll pick 2 of you. We'll put on a training fight. Make it look good. No blood." He looked at me. "You and you." He pointed at Dexter. Laughter in the barracks. "This will be fun," Dexter said. "I'll teach you gently." But there was no amusement in his eyes. Only interest, like a hunter has for his prey. Morning before the arena at night. I barely slept. My thoughts kept spinning in circles like a wheel in the sand. Tomorrow is the arena. Tomorrow you'll be in front of them. Tomorrow you'll be facing Dexter with a sword. It wasn't supposed to be a real fight. That's what they said. A training match. A demonstration match. No blood. Just for the senator and his guests. But I knew, in Dexter's hands, even a wooden weapon is like a beast's spawn. Preparation. Before dawn, they gave us a fresh tunic, a polished helmet, and a training sword. I held it with both hands. It was a bit heavier than usual. For the audience, for the spectacle, "Don't be afraid," the old man said as he fastened my straps. "The main thing is to stand your ground. Don't back down. Don't let the crowd sense your fear." "But I am afraid," I whispered. "Everyone is afraid. Even Dexter. He just learned how to hide it." The arena was smaller than I imagined. Private. The inner courtyard of a wealthy house. But it looked intimidating. Smooth sand, benches with cushions, silk canopies. The spectators were already drinking wine. Laughter, applause, carefreeness. And in the middle there was us. They brought the 2 of us out. I felt my legs give way as I stepped into the ring. The crowd was buzzing, but not out of hostility, out of impatience. To them, we were a show, 5 minutes of entertainment. For me, this was my first trial. The look of an enemy. Dexter was standing across from me. Calm, steady, as if he wasn't even planning to move. "Go on," he said to me quietly, without breaking eye contact. "Make the first move. The crowd likes it when newcomers act bold." I gripped the hilt of my sword, my hands trembling. "Or I'll start," he added. "And it'll hurt more for you." Marcel gave the signal. The fight began. The first strike. I moved forward. Stupid. Fast. Way too obvious. And right away, I took a shield blow to the shoulder. I was thrown back onto the sand. Laughter erupted from the crowd. Wine spilled from goblets. Someone started clapping. "Get up," I whispered to myself. "Get up. Not like this." I got to my feet. It was hard, but I managed. Dexter took a step, swung dramatically at the air for the audience. Then he swung his sword and stopped it a millimeter from my neck. The crowd gasped. The senator started clapping. "Remember," he whispered to me, "the arena loves drama. Learn to play. Pain is a lesson." We continued. This time I dodged, retreated, tried to anticipate, and sometimes even managed to block. Once I struck his shield. He smirked. "Better already," Dexter said. "But you're too kind. The arena doesn't like people like that." He struck again, this time in my side. With force. Collapsed. Marcellus gave a signal. The fight was over. The crowd applauded. I lay there, staring at the sky. The sun was beating down on my face. Tears from pain and shame streamed down my cheeks, but I quickly wiped them away. You're not a spectator, you're a gladiator. A spectator can cry, but you can't. After the fight, when we returned to the Ludus, no one laughed. Even Dexter. He walked beside me, wiping his forehead with a towel. "Not bad for your first time," he said. "You didn't run away. That's something already." I nodded and, suddenly, even surprising myself, I asked, "Have you ever been afraid?" He stopped and looked at me. "I'm afraid every time, but if the crowd sees it, they'll eat me alive." He walked away, and I was left standing there with a bittersweet feeling. I'm still alive, and tomorrow I'll be better. Inside, I lay down on my mat. My back was throbbing, my palms were burning, but my heart was beating more steadily. I remembered how I lay on the sand yesterday, not knowing what to do. And today I stood up and even fought, if only for a little while. Maybe that's how you become a gladiator. Not by choice, but out of necessity. A morning unlike any before. I woke up before the overseer's shout. My mouth was full of dust. My body felt heavy. My mind was empty. Today isn't just a regular training session, not a practice fight. Today is the arena, real with a crowd, with stands, with shouting. Today is my first fight to the death. They gave me a short gladius, sharp, real, the metal cold and deadly. "Not wooden," I muttered, staring at the blade. "This isn't a game anymore," one of the older men said. I nodded. I had nothing to say in response. In the last minute, as we stood in the shadow of the passage, I could feel the ground vibrating. The crowd roared like the sea before a storm. It was muffled, coming in waves, stone arches overhead, light before my eyes. Through the cracks, I could see fragments of the stands. People were laughing, drinking, shouting. For them, it's all a spectacle, a show, a sport. For us, it's the line between life and death. Some were praying, others repeating their moves. I just stared at my sword and breathed deeply, rhythmically, as if that could keep the fear at bay. The exit, the blare of a horn, the creak of the gate. We walked out. The sand under my feet felt soft, almost shifting. The light hit my eyes. For the first time, I saw the Colosseum, real, magnificent. It breathed, it lived. It watched. Thousands of people, hundreds of faces. The noise was like a storm. Voices like waves. Laughter, shouts, bets. I felt my pulse pounding in my temples, my heart beating not in my chest, but in my ears. And suddenly, silence. The herald stepped forward. He called out our names, or what was left of them. I am Novice, the newcomer. My opponent, Spiculus, is a veteran, experienced and tough. The crowd whispered, "Bet on Spiculus. This one will be dead in a minute." I heard every word, as if they were standing right next to me, saying it to my face. The first glance. My opponent was taller, older, rougher. Scars on his arms, marks on his face, eyes cold and calm. He looked at me like an executioner looks at the condemned, not with hatred, just as part of the job. I raised my sword, my shield was trembling. He didn't say a word, just nodded. And that was enough. I understood. He wouldn't show mercy, no one would. The signal, the herald raised his hand. "Ready." I nodded. He nodded. "Begin." The crowd roared. Felt like the ground jumped beneath my feet. Spiculus moved first. His step was confident, calm, as if he were going to visit a friend, not into battle. I took a step back, shield up, sword at the ready. He swung and struck. The force, the blow was lightning fast. My shield deflected it, but my arm went numb. I lunged, he dodged, and answered with a short, slicing move that nearly caught my throat. The crowd burst into applause. "Come on," they shouted. "Show us a real fight." I was breathing, I was moving, I was defending myself, but I could feel it. He was toying with me. It was a dance with death. He was leading. I was the one being led to the edge. Sand. We moved in a circle. The sand underfoot was a hindrance, slippery, dry. Every step was a trap. I fell, catching myself with my palm in the sand, my face burning. He froze, then came closer. Sure, get up, he said. I don't want to kill you on your knees. I got up. Not because I could, but because there was no other choice. An unexpected chance. He went on the attack. I retreated, then suddenly darted to the side. My sword glanced off his armor. He staggered. The crowd shouted. Someone stood up, someone tossed a coin. This was my chance. I struck again. He parried. But now I was no longer hiding. Now I was fighting back. On the edge, sword, steel, blood, pulse, movements driven by instinct. You don't think. You just live or die. He struck me in the ribs. Pain shot through my chest. I threw aside my shield, grabbed my sword with both hands, and slashed with all my strength. He retreated. Shaken, but he didn't fall. The herald intervened, raising his hand. Enough. Winner both gladiators. Honor was shared. Afterward, I stood there, breathing heavily. Sand beneath my feet. The crowd was shouting. They weren't laughing anymore. Now they were applauding me. I didn't die. For the first time, I tasted the arena, dirty, bitter, but intoxicating. The return. They led us back through the narrow passage. My knees were shaking. My palms burned with blisters, and my chest throbbed with pain. I didn't know where to look. Behind me, the roar of the crowd. In front of me, the darkness of the ludus. My opponent, Spiculus, walked beside me. Not a word, just heavy breathing. When we stepped into the shadows, he suddenly stopped and turned. You didn't chicken out? That's already something. He reached out his hand. I gripped it without hesitation. Now you're a gladiator, he said. No, I replied. Not yet, but I guess I'm not a slave anymore either. A look between brothers. When I returned to the barracks, everything went silent. They were sitting. Someone was playing with a knife, someone was eating, someone was sharpening a blade. Everyone fell silent. Then someone clapped once, then another, and then the whole barracks joined in. They were clapping for me. Felt strange. I didn't feel like a hero. All I felt was exhaustion and a burning in my chest. But in that applause, I heard the most important thing. Now I was one of them. Respect. Later, Marcellus, the trainer, came up to me. He looked at me. He stood there for a long time without saying anything. I thought you'd break, he said. But you got up. You took the hit. You didn't fall face first into the sand. He nodded. Next time, you'll get a different helmet. One of the ones the veterans wear. It wasn't praise. It was a statement of fact. But something stirred in my chest. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay there staring at the ceiling. The arena kept replaying before my eyes. The lights, the sand, the crowd, the roar, the sword, the scream in my chest, the pain in my side. I tried to figure out what it all meant. A fight? Yes. Dear. Definitely. Triumph? Maybe. But more than anything, it was a revelation. I realized how quickly a person can stop being human, how easily you turn into a function, a sword, a spectacle. Pain isn't just about the body. In the morning, I couldn't feel my right arm. The shield absorbed the force of a blow, but something was wrong with my shoulder. The coach looked at it, didn't say anything, just gave me some ointment, a wrap, and an order. Back in the lineup tomorrow. I wanted to ask, when do I get to rest? But the words got stuck. Dear, no one. Doc asks, you're needed as long as you fight. If not, you're forgotten. Sleep and shadow. In my dream, Spiculus came to me. Only he wasn't a gladiator, but a mirror. I looked into it and saw myself. But my face was unfamiliar, my eyes empty. He said, you're not who you used to be. The question now isn't who you are, but who you'll become. I woke up drenched in sweat, and suddenly I realized I'm starting to change. Rumors started to spread. After the fight, I began to hear whispers. That's him, the one who stood against Spiculus. Now the Lanista is betting on him. For the first time, my name wasn't spoken as a joke, but with curiosity. Not as a sentence, but as an opportunity. And that was frightening because I could feel, with each passing day, I was getting further from who I used to be. From myself, from home, from my memories. There was no letter to Idarog. One of the old men said that sometimes gladiators are allowed to write letters. If you stand out, if you win. I tried. In the evening, I sat down and started writing words on a tablet. Mom, I'm alive. I'm a gladiator now. I don't know if you're proud of me, but I haven't forgotten your voice. We're home. I fight every day, and every evening I think of you. If you still pray, pray for me. I knew this letter would never reach her, but I needed to write it to remind myself I am still human. Ahead lies either glory or death. A day later, Marcella said, "Get ready. In a week, the Great Games. The Emperor will be there. There will be a crowd, a real arena, a real fight." I nodded. I didn't answer. What could I say? Glory awaits. Or death. Or maybe both. Because in this world, they walk hand in hand. The days between deaths. You think gladiators only live in the arena, that their life is all about fighting, blades, and the crowd. But the truth is something else. We don't die in the arena. We die between the fights, slowly on the inside. The fights are just flashes. But life in the Ludus is an endless wait for when they'll call us again. You never know if tomorrow you'll still be alive or already on the list. You don't know if your bunkmate is smiling because he's joking or because he's saying goodbye. Uchin. In the Ludus, everything runs on a schedule. Morning, training. Daytime, the armory. Evening, porridge, silence, and stranger stares. But the hardest part is the night. Because at night, the thoughts come. You lie on your back, hear the breathing of those nearby, and think, which one of them won't wake up? And you think, if you do wake up, what for? No meaning, just little things. One of the veterans, Titus, scratched marks into the wall, counting the days. "What, are you waiting for freedom?" someone asked. "No," he replied. "I just want to remember that I existed." I started doing the same thing. Every morning, one scratch. And if someone had asked me, why, I wouldn't have been able to answer. Probably just so I wouldn't lose my mind. A shadow of freedom. Sometimes the lanista would take us out into the yard, not for training, but for show. Guests would come. Senators, merchants, military men. They watched how we moved, how we held a sword, how we struck at targets. "He's good," I heard. "Give him a chance at the next games. That one won't make it." We were merchandise, products, investments. And the worst part was feeling how clearly you understood it yourself. Sometimes I caught myself thinking, if I perform well, someone more important might buy me, maybe even set me free. But then I spat into the sand, because I knew freedom isn't bought, it's fought for. The smells. In the Ludus, it smelled of sweat, blood, and iron. But there were other smells too. The stewed meat the guards ate, the oils the doctors brought, the perfume when women came in with hairpins in their hair. Those smells felt like a mockery. The world out there, outside, was alive. It was having fun, enjoying good food, while we just stank. One day, I closed my eyes and imagined the smell of bread baked by my mother, the scent of rain on the earth, the smell of freedom. And suddenly it became hard to breathe, as if the cell had gotten smaller. They listened. Sometimes someone would whisper at night, "Did you see how Carl disappeared? The lanista sold him for private fights. No one survives there. They say he didn't want to go. They took him by force." And more often I heard, "We have to get out. We can escape. There's a way through the sewers, through the warehouses, through the laundry." I didn't believe it, but I listened. Because when you live in a cage, even a lie about escape is like a breath of fresh air. Not everyone is equal. Over time, I realized, even among us, there are favorites. Some got better weapons, some an extra piece of bread, some got to rest while we trained. Like, because they were useful, the favorites, the privileged ones. And one of them even slept separately in a guarded room. They called him the Lannister's son. He wasn't a real son, just a gladiator whom the master raised above the rest. I could feel how it rotted us from the inside. They kept us together, but at the same time divided us, so we wouldn't become united, so we wouldn't rise up. The old man. One evening, that same old man I spoke with on my first night came up to me. "You're growing," he said, "both on the outside and inside. But remember, the higher you rise, the harder they'll try to bring you down." I asked him, and, "What are you waiting for?" He smirked. "I'm waiting for someone smarter than all of us to start thinking not about fighting, but about freedom." He left, but he planted a thought, a bitter, dangerous, unwelcome thought. That night I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, listening to someone rambling in delirium, someone snoring, someone silent, and I thought, what if the cage isn't just made of stone? What if the real cage is in your mind? Tension. With each passing day, the tension grew. The training sessions became harsher, and the guards more vigilant. Even the Lannister started coming in person more often, looking not at our faces, but into our eyes, as if searching for something. Some people disappeared at night, some never came back after taking out the trash. Some just didn't get up in the morning. No one explained anything to us, but we could feel it. Something was happening. A newcomer. During one of the training sessions, a new guy showed up, young, light on his feet, with a sly look in his eyes. His skin was too clean, his hands too nimble. He didn't talk much, but he listened to everyone. "Who is he?" I asked the old man. "I don't know, but he's got red eyes." "What kind?" "The kind that dart around the corners, looking for a place to bite when no one's watching." A word, one that people are afraid of. Late at night, when almost everyone was already asleep, I heard a whisper. "Tomorrow, through the storage room, then through the hole behind the wall. Just don't tell anyone." I didn't see any faces, only shadows. But I recognized one of the voices. It was Tip, the one who used to count the scratches on the wall. I turned toward the wall and pretended to be asleep. But one word kept pounding in my head. Escape into the forest. The old man came up to me the next morning. He looked at me for a long time without saying a word. Then he said, "Do you know what happens when slaves run away?" I stayed silent. "If they're caught, they're executed in the arena, in front of the children, the wives, and the senators as an example. But if they're not caught," he glanced toward the wall, "then they kill those who stayed behind, as an example." I understood. It's not just you who takes part in an escape, it's the whole Ludus. And even if you didn't run, but you knew, you're still guilty. Betrayed. The next day, they took Titus away without any explanation, without a word. 2 guards just came, tied him up, and led him away. He didn't resist. They didn't tell us what for, but we knew, and we knew who told them. The new guy. After that, what was bound to happen happened. In Ludus, everyone stopped talking to each other. Conversations stopped, laughter disappeared. No one looked each other in the eye. There was a feeling we were being listened to, watched, analyzed. We started eating in silence, training in silence, living in silence. Even the old man, who used to share stories, now just sat in the corner sharpening his knife. The conversation underground. One night, coming back from my shift, I heard a rustling sound. I followed the sound. There was a pit by the wall. 2 people, one of ours, the other one of the servant slaves. Just a little more left. We've almost broken through. The main thing is to stay quiet. If they find out, we're done for. They didn't notice me. I stepped away, but my head was buzzing. Another conspiracy. It wasn't just rumors anymore. It was action. Strength isn't in the sword. I didn't tell anyone. Not because I was afraid, but because I started to understand. Real strength isn't just surviving, it's making a choice. I could have snitched, I could have joined them, or I could have stayed silent. Each of those paths led to pain, but only one led to freedom, freedom inside. I chose to stay silent, for now. The letter again. I wrote a second letter, an invisible one, just on a wooden board, then erased it. Mom, everything here smells like fear. People here don't fight. They wait. They wait for the moment when they can be themselves. I don't know which of us is right, but I still remember the bread, the field, and your voice. I'm still me, for now. First there was the body, now willpower. I sat by the wall and realized I was no longer the person who came to Ludus. My body grew stronger, my arms firmer. But most importantly, I started to listen, to notice, to understand. I was no longer just a slave. I was an eye, a heart, an observer. And in that, there was power, an order. At dawn, the Lanista gathered everyone. He stepped out onto the training ground accompanied by 2 guards. His face was focused, without a smile. In 3 days, the great games will begin, he said. There will be senators, commanders, ambassadors. The emperor himself is reviewing the list of fighters. And you, he pointed at me, you're going first. Something tightened in my chest. Why me? He came closer. Because you're not needed by me. You're needed by them. The hall of the nobility. The next day, I was summoned to the main house. A rarity. Gladiators were almost never allowed in there. Inside, there was marble, fountains, the scent of incense, servants in expensive tunics, and a silence like in a temple. I was led into a hall where a Roman in an expensive toga was sitting, about 40 years old. Next to him was his young son with cold eyes. He was a senator, one of those who oversee the games. Is this him? The senator asked. The Lanista nodded. He's tough, smart. The crowd remembers him. The senator looked at me. I'm betting 300 denarii on you. Don't let me down. A wager. I walked out of there a different man. They didn't train me anymore, they polished me. New armor, a special diet, a personal doctor. But now I felt it. I wasn't a fighter, I was a product. A wager. A piece on someone else's board. All my training, the pain, the scars, now just part of the show. And my life? Now it was worth 300 denarii. Preparation. Marcellus didn't say anything unnecessary. He just handed me a list. Your opponent is an African heavy. A battle axe. Slow, but he hits like a catapult. Me? 33, so whose will he be? I stayed silent, not because I was afraid, but because I already understood. In this fight, the main thing isn't to survive, but to play your part right. If the crowd doesn't like it, neither skill nor caution will save you. They want emotion, blood, a story, a gladius, and a helmet. I was sitting in the armory. In front of me was a sword new, smooth, perfectly balanced, slicing through the air like the rustle of grass. A special helmet with a crest and a gold stripe, so that you'd stand out. Said the Lanista, so there would be no confusion. I nodded. Now I'm not just a gladiator, I'm a character. The night before, I didn't sleep. I lay there listening to someone praying, someone whispering, someone raving. In my head, there was silence. Not because I was calm, but because my mind didn't know what to hold on to. I thought about my mother, about home, about myself. And suddenly I realized, I no longer just want to survive. I want to win. I want my name to be remembered. I want that when they say, someone will say, I saw him in the utero. When they led us to the arena, I could feel my whole body pulsing. The Colosseum was packed. Tens of thousands, a roar like before a storm. Wine, bracelets, togas, and in the center us. So small. Stripped down to our essence. With a sword and with hope. The herald announced the names. Novice versus Thorax. The crowd roared. Someone stood up, someone threw a wreath. I stepped forward, and the ground beneath my feet came alive. Thorax was massive. Dark skin, scars, a single axe. No shield. He didn't defend himself, he just moved forward. He looked at me and nodded. "You're light. Good. Less blood. It'll be over faster." I didn't answer. Not out of fear, but because at that moment I wasn't a person, I was a weapon. It all started with a sound, the roar of the crowd. Deep and all-encompassing. It filled my chest, my heart, my bones, as if the Colosseum itself was breathing. The herald called out the names. Next to me was Thorax, solid as a rock, certain as death. I stood in the center of the arena with a gladius in my hand, wearing a new helmet that gleamed in the sunlight. And I knew, today, I would either be remembered or buried. The first glance, we moved closer, 5 steps apart. Thorax wasn't smiling. He wasn't looking at the crowd. He was looking only at me. "Don't be afraid," he said. "I'm not a beast. I'm just doing my job." "And me?" I asked. He shrugged. "That's for you to decide." The first strike, Thorax moved first. His step was heavy, his swing enormous. The axe whistled over my head. I managed to duck in time. Sand flew up. I stepped back. Another step. He came forward again. The clang of metal, the heat of breath, the roar of the stands. I struck at the air to keep the rhythm. Shield closer to my body. My legs stayed nimble. He attacked. I dodged. He roared. I stayed silent. A spectacle. The crowd screamed. They didn't want victory. They wanted drama. When I dodged the axe at the last moment, they applauded. When I struck his armor, they gasped. One of the spectators threw a wreath. I realized I was dancing, giving them exactly what they came for. But inside, everything was burning. My hands were shaking. Thorax was like a river, heavy, unstoppable. His strength seemed to tear through the air. Every one of his blows could have killed. It was an accident. He tripped. A moment, just an instant. I struck from the side, hitting his shoulder. The blade slid across his skin, blood spurted, and the crowd roared. He turned around, struck back, and hit me. On the side. I flew onto the sand. My helmet slipped off. The sun burned my face. My mouth filled with dust, and all I could see was white light. He was coming toward me. He slowly raised his axe. I looked up, and then I heard a shout, a single one. I pitched. From the stands, "Alive! Take him alive!" He froze mid-swing. The crowd started shouting again. Half yelled, "Kill him!" The other half, "Spare him!" Thorax looked at the stands, then at me. "See? They don't care. If you die, they'll forget you. If you survive, you'll just dance for them again." He lowered his axe. "Get up. Finish it yourself." I got up, slowly, with difficulty. A sword in my hands, rage in my heart. Not at him, at everyone. At the system, at those who turned us into beasts in the arena. I stepped closer, raised my sword, and struck. Not at him, but the sand. Silence. Everything froze. Thousands of people in silence. I stood in the center with my sword in the sand. Thorax was next to me, unarmed. I raised my hands. "We are not slaves, not beasts. We are alive." It sounded like a challenge, but also like a plea. A signal from the stands. The emperor or his representative stood up. He stretched out his arm, thumb up. The crowd roared, "Alive! Both alive!" Thorax laughed loudly. "For the first time, today you learned not to fight, but to choose." I smiled and, for the first time in all this time, felt like myself. Afterwards, we returned to the barracks under guard, but not as prisoners, as heroes. The lanista looked at me with contempt. "You refused to strike. The crowd forgave you, but I did not. You won't fight first anymore." I nodded, but thought to myself, I am not a sword, I am a person. And that is a victory. After those games, everything changed. Not just around me, inside me too. The crowd saw a hero in me. The Lanista saw a problem, my comrades saw a mystery, and I just wanted some peace and quiet. A month without fights, just training. Once again, I was just a body, a sword, a shadow. But something inside me could no longer go back. I looked at the sword and thought not about victory, but about the cost. The arrival. She showed up in the middle of the day on a completely ordinary day. I was sharpening my gladius when I heard light footsteps. I turned around and saw her. Young, dressed in white. Her hair was pulled back, her face calm. She was carrying a basket with bandages and ointments. "Navis?" she asked. "I am," I replied. "And you?" "My name is Unia. I'm the healer's daughter. I help out here sometimes." She smiled, simply without a trace of fear. And in that moment I realized she wasn't looking at the gladiator. She was looking at me. Conversations. First, we spoke rarely. She would bandage my shoulder. I stayed silent, then more often. About the garden, about the rains in the suburbs, about how wine is made, about birds. I listened, not because it was interesting, but because her voice was different. Not like the trainer's shouts, the Lanista's threats, or the roar of the crowd. It was human, and I could feel my heart learning to beat again. Laughter. One day, I accidentally spilled water on her tunic. She gasped, then burst out laughing. She laughed for a long time, openly, purely. I hadn't heard laughter like that since I was a child. It was genuine, not out of fear, not forced. I laughed too, and suddenly I realized, all this time I hadn't been dying, I just hadn't been living. A gift. She came with a small pouch. "Here," she said, "there are dried flowers inside, lavender, for sleep." "I don't sleep. I'm waiting for the fight." "Then put it under your head to remind you that the world isn't made entirely of steel." I took it, and that night, for the first time in a long while, I slept without nightmares. A gladiator in love. The old man noticed. "You've gotten softer," he said. "That's dangerous." "Why?" "Because now you have something to lose. Before, you only had your sword." I stayed silent because I knew he was right, but also because I didn't want to stop. Secret meetings. We met late at night, in places where there were no guards. We talked, sometimes we just sat together. She would bring apples and I brought stories. I told her how a sword sings in your hand. She is like jasmine blooming in the garden. Those moments felt like life stolen from death. The first touches. One day, I touched her hand with my fingers, gently, as if she might fall apart. She didn't pull her hand away, she squeezed mine. And in that moment, the arena disappeared. The blood, the steel, the screams all vanished. There was only us, alive. The Lanista knows. A few days later, the Lanista called me over. "You've been smiling a lot," he said. "That's not a good sign." I stayed silent. "Forget it. These girls come and go. You'll stay. With the chain, with the sword, with blood on your hands." He left. But I knew he knows. And that's a threat. Here. For the first time, I was afraid not for myself, but for her. If the Lanista decides she's a weakness, he'll get rid of her. No words, no trace, no mercy. I didn't know what to do. I was strong in the arena, but here I was powerless. Strength isn't in swords. Strength is in protecting without killing. He started living in two worlds. By day, arena, training, blood. By night, whispers in the shadows, her hand in mine, her eyes. I knew it wouldn't last long. The Lanista saw, watched, waited. He was a hunter. He didn't act right away. He observed first to strike for sure. A conversation with her. One day I said, "You shouldn't come anymore. It's dangerous. And you, I'm already in a cage, but you can still leave." She was silent for a long time. Then she said, "And when will you leave?" I didn't answer because I didn't know. The first plan. The old man knew. He sensed it. "You want to save her? he asked. I nodded. Then listen, not with a sword, not with a fight, but with your mind, with patience. He drew a diagram in the dust. The path, the storage, the passage, the gate where the guards doze. The night when the shift changes. Only once, one chance. Either she gets away, or you lose everything. Preparation. I started watching when the shift left, when the guards drank, where the keys were kept. I trained during the day and planned at night. As if the arena was for the body smoldered, but the escape was for the soul. I knew there could be no mistakes. There would be no second round. The last evening, we met by wall. She was holding bread in her hands, small, warm. On the road, the rock said, if you come with me. I looked at her and felt two warriors battling inside me. One, a gladiator. The other, a man. I can't leave, I said. Not yet, but you must. She nodded. No tears, but pain in her eyes. I'll wait. An hour, night fell. Everything was ready. The passage was open. The hatch was unlocked. The guards were drunk. I had the key. I led her to the wall and hugged her. Run. Now. She wanted to say something, but didn't have time. I looked into her eyes and let go. She disappeared into the darkness. Light as the wind. Determined, just as I had dreamed. I stayed for a few seconds. By the wall. I listened, I waited. Only my heart was pounding like a drum. I prayed that no one would notice, that there would be no shout, no alarm, no chase. An hour passed, then another. Silence. She was gone. Discovery. In the morning, the Lanista woke everyone up. A girl from the infirmary is missing. Does anyone know anything? Everyone stayed silent. He looked down the rows carefully for a long time. He stopped at me. Maybe you know something? I stayed silent. He nodded. Keep your eyes open. The world is round. If they find her, she won't be coming back. Plateau. Since then, everything changed. They started calling me to fight more often. Hard, brutal fights. I fought like a beast, but not because I wanted to live. It was because I knew. If I fell, no one would ever find out that she escaped. But if I survived, maybe someday I could find her. Letter 3. That night I wrote, Unia, I don't know if you made it. I don't know if you ever think of me, but I'm alive, and I'm still holding my sword. Not for victory, but for the chance to see you again. If you ever see a gladiator whose eyes aren't like jam, know that it's me. I burned the tablet so no one would find it. But the words remained. It all started with a look. I felt like someone was watching me. Not from the outside, but from within. Not just once, but every day. In the armory, a shadow behind my back. In the bathhouse, conversations go quiet when I walk in. During training, someone copies my movements. Too precisely. I didn't know who, but I knew. Someone was betraying me. The Lanista smiles. One day he called me over. You've become famous. That's good. But in Rome, every rise is followed by a fall. He poured some wine. I've heard you're still waiting for someone. The one who left. I didn't answer. Don't wait, he said. In this world, love is a knife in the back. He handed me the cup. Drink. To your head, while it's still on your shoulders. I took the cup, but didn't drink. And then I realized he knows or almost knows. A word from the old man. The old man came to me late in the evening. There's a spy in the Ludus, he said. Not a guard, one of us. He tells the Lanista everything. Who talks to whom, who keeps silent with whom. Who is it? I don't know, but there's a way to find out. He pulled out a simple wooden dice. Put it down nearby. Whoever takes it is not your brother. Why? Because the die is a symbol of luck. Only a spy thinks it might save him. The rest know. There's no luck here. A game at breakfast. I placed the die by my seat and went off to training. When I came back, it was gone. No one in the Ludus said anything, but I caught a look in their eyes, and I remembered who had been sitting next to me. His name is Calidus. Average height, strong, quiet. He always kept to the shadows, never drew attention to himself. I remembered. It was him who was nearby when the Lanista talked about my smile. He was the one who heard the old man give me the map for Unia. He was the one standing by the gate the night she escaped. It all added up. Jest. I approached him after training. "You hit well," I said. "You learn fast." He nodded. "I try. I want to be like you. You want glory? I want to survive. And who helps you survive?" He smiled. "I help myself." I nodded, but inside everything froze. He's lying. The old man's advice echoed in my mind again. What are you going to do? If I tell, he'll run. If I stay silent, he'll keep betraying us. Then challenge him to a fight. No words needed there. The staged sparring match. I submitted the request. The training match. Testing out new fighting techniques for the Lanista. I asked Calidus to be my opponent. He agreed. There were few spectators in the arena, only the trainers. And the Lanista. Calidus gripped his sword tightly, smiling. "No hard feelings, novice." "None at all," I said. "Just the truth. No rules." We began. First, just the usual moves. He was fast, too precise. He knew my style. Then I changed my stance. He was surprised, made a mistake. I struck his leg, and he fell. I put my sword to his throat. "Tell the truth," I whispered, "or you won't die by my hand, but by theirs." He looked me in the eyes and nodded. The truth. After the fight, he came to me. "I betrayed you," he said. "I betrayed everyone." The Lanista promised freedom, gave his word. I didn't know that you would give her freedom. And now I understand. That's not how freedom is given. I stayed silent. He added, "I will leave willingly. Tomorrow. Let them think I'm dead." Where to? To those who are still fighting. You're not alone. Not in this city. He left at night, left behind his sword and a letter. "You gave me a chance to be not a spy, but a person. I was a rat, but you saw a face in me. Thank you." I burned the letter and told no one that he had left. After Calidus left, something changed. Not right away, but noticeably. People started looking others in the eye. They weren't just waiting for orders anymore. They looked with purpose. There was an expectation in their eyes, as if they were waiting for me to say something important, something no one had ever said before. And they definitely weren't silent anymore. The old man came up to me. "You've started a journey. You may not realize it, but they're already following you. They respect you, not because you win, but because you're not afraid to speak." I stayed silent. He added, "But if you don't speak, they'll gasp. And they will die in vain. Right now, you're not a gladiator, you're a spark." The first words in the evening, I stood in the center of the barracks, didn't raise my voice, just said, "We are not objects, not trophies. We are men with hands, hearts, and memories. I'm not asking you to die. I'm asking you to live your own way, even if it's just for one day." No one applauded, but no one turned away either. And in the morning, they gave me the best helmet. No words, they just placed it next to me. It was a sign, the outside world. A few days later, a new manager arrived. Young, sharp, with leather gloves and a senator's haircut. He gathered us on the parade ground. From this day on, more control, more inspections, less friendship. "You are merchandise. Don't forget it." The crowd was silent, but I could see. Fists were clenching, teeth were grinding, eyes were flashing. This is the calm before the storm. A message. A free servant handed me a scrap of cloth. Inside was a tiny wooden bead. Only one person made beads like this, Unia. It was a sign. She was alive and maybe nearby. I held the bead in my hand all night, and the next day I fought like a lion. Not for victory, but because hope had returned. The old man from the conspiracy came again at night. "It's time." The people are ready. The Lanista is going to a reception at the villa. Half the guards will leave with him. We'll be left with weapons and with a choice. I nodded. Not for revenge, I said. For the future. For freedom, he added. The plan for the night: disarm the remaining guards, open the main gates, escape not as a group, but in different directions. The meeting point is behind the Temple of Apollo. In 3 days. And what if no one shows up? Someone asked. I looked at him. If you survive, you've already won. The night before, we didn't sleep. Many just sat, sharpening their blades, staring at the walls. Some prayed, some wrote letters that would never be delivered. I was silent too, but inside, everything was thunder. One last look. I stood up and looked around at those who had sat with me all these months, who had fought, fallen, survived. I don't know who you'll be tomorrow, but today you are brothers. Silence. And then someone stood up, then another, then the whole ludus. We didn't shout. We just looked at each other as free men. The night was surprisingly warm. No wind, no moon, just stars. And the barracks, full of hearts beating in the same rhythm. We didn't talk. We didn't need words. Everyone knew their role. Everyone knew it would hurt. And everyone knew either we'd get out or we'd burn together. The first step. It all started with the door. One of the guards went out for a smoke. He didn't come back. His body was laid under the stairs. We took him down with a sword, passed the key from hand to hand. The first gate opened, then the second. We didn't run. We walked like a silent army, with every step closer to the edge. Weapons. In the armory, spears, gladii, and even a couple of battle nets were waiting for us. Some people chose quickly, others just grabbed the first thing they saw. I took my old sword, worn and battered, the one where it all began. With it, I knew who I was. First blood. 2 guards were dozing by the gate. We approached from both sides, quietly, without making any unnecessary noise. The first one went down immediately, but the second managed to shout. Loud and hoarse, alarm. It started. Battle. The signal hit like lightning. The remaining guards rushed into the ludus. But by then, we were everywhere. The old man threw oil onto the torch. Flash. The barracks were engulfed in light and screams. Forward, someone shouted. For freedom, I moved toward the gates. Sword in both hands. One, then another. Block. Strike. The sand turned red. I wasn't thinking, I was alive. Faces. We fought shoulder to shoulder. Some fell, some survived. I saw one gladiator shield another with his own body, and a young boy, barely able to hold his sword, knock a soldier off his feet. This wasn't a fight for life, it was a fight for a name, for choice, for the person within. We reached the gates. They were closed, locked with a massive bolt. The old man ran up. Let's move it together. 1, 2. Crash a creak. The wood cracked like bones. And suddenly they opened. Beyond the gates, there was a road, freedom, and the morning breeze. Not everyone made it. Some stayed behind because of wounds or by choice. I looked back and saw those who had fallen. What about them? The young boy asked. They're with us, the old man replied, because they died free. Scatter. According to the plan, not together. In small groups in different directions. I went with 2 others. Through the garden, across the canal, through the brewery yard. My legs were burning, my lungs were on fire, but I kept going. Every step took me farther from the cage, closer to myself. The last turn. We left the city, through the vineyards, into the fog. I stopped and looked back. Back there, the light of burning torches, shouting, the sound of metal. The cage was left behind. But here was a path. And I kept going. When we passed the vineyards, silence fell. No chains rattled, no guards shouted. Even the cries of the birds sounded different, real. For the first time ever, the ground beneath my feet felt free. And that was frightening. I looked up at the stars and suddenly realized I didn't know where to go. The rendezvous point. 2 days later, we reached the ruins behind the Temple of Apollo. The old man was the first to arrive, then 3 more arrived, then 7. Out of the entire Ludus, out of dozens, only 13 came. We stayed silent, looking at each other as if asking, is this it? Is this victory? Fresh bread. A woman from the village brought bread and water. We heard people say you escaped. Some say you killed the guards. Some say the emperor himself let you go. We didn't answer. She just set down the bread. No one will touch you here, but don't stay long. Rome doesn't forgive. A look into the night. I sat by the fire and stared into the darkness. Calidus was right, freedom isn't given. You take it and then you carry it with you. It's hard. No instructions, no guarantees. I felt it in every cell of my body. Ahead, emptiness. Behind, ashes. And in the middle of it all, me. The return of Unia. She appeared on the 3rd day, in a gray cloak, her shoes covered in dust. When I saw her, my heart just stopped. I knew, she sighed, she said. I knew you would come out. I walked up and touched her face. Did you wait? Every night, she replied. And every night I was afraid I'd hear your name on the list of the dead. I hugged her, not like a hero, but like someone who had lost everything, yet found what mattered most. A meeting of the free. We gathered around the campfire, all the survivors. The old man said, we can go our separate ways, each on their own, or we can stay together and build something new, without chains, without the arena. Silence. Then someone nodded, and then another. I stood up. We fought for freedom, and now we have to learn how to live in it. The plan is to go into the mountains. There are villages there where no one asks your name. To live our own way, to work, to protect each other. Not to seek revenge, not to go back. We chose a path quieter than the arena, but louder than the heart. A new morning. I woke up under a tree. No chains, no walls, no orders. Unia was sleeping next to me. Above us, not the barracks ceiling, but the sky. I closed my eyes and, for the first time, wasn't afraid to sleep. One last thought. I don't know who I used to be. I know who they made me. But most importantly, I know who I've become. Not a sword, not a shadow, not a commodity. I am a human being. You wake up not to a guard's shout, not to the clang of metal, not to the rattle of chains, but to the smell of smoke, the crackle of a campfire, the sound of someone breathing nearby. Unia is sleeping next to you, peaceful, and yet you still expect someone to shout, "Up, slaves!" But no one shouts because you are free. Life without a sword, you dig the earth, chop wood, fix the roof. The sword lies on the shelf, next to the canvas you stretched yourself. It's no longer an extension of your hand. Now it's a memory. Sometimes you look at it and ask, who am I without you? And you answer yourself, a human being. The fear doesn't go away. You go to the village for bread. And suddenly you hear a crash, like the roar of the stands. Children are running, laughing. But in your head, it's the noise of the arena. Your mind doesn't let go right away. You stand there sweaty, tense. A woman hands you bread. She smiles calmly. Everything's fine, she says. You're not there. You're here. You nod, but deep down you know. The arena is gone, but it hasn't disappeared. In your dreams, you see the fight, the screams, the sand, the sword in your hand. You're standing across from yourself. But that one, it's the old you with empty eyes breathing like a beast. Eotex. You don't defend yourself. You wake up in a sweat. Unia is holding your hand. It's all behind you, she whispers. I'm here. You nod, but the scar inside hurts more than the one on your shoulder. The first laughter. A boy is playing near the house. He's rolling an old jug along the ground with a stick. He imagines it's a battle. "I'm a gladiator," he shouts. You stand nearby watching. He notices you, and who are you? You're silent for a long time, then say, now I'm just a neighbor." He smiles. You have the look of a real one. "Were you strong?" You reply, "I became strong when I stopped killing." Memory. Sometimes you see the former ones, the ones who survived. One is an old man with a cane, another is a stove maker, the third is a woman who used to carry water. Now she teaches people to read. You don't talk about the past. Only your eyes remember. You nod to each other, and in that nod, there's a whole book. The last letter. You sit in the evening, the moon is bright. You take a small board and write, "If someone finds this, know that I was a gladiator, but that's not my story. My story is about how I learned to be human again. I lived, I loved, I lost, and I believed once more. The scars remain, but they're not like shackles. They're a reminder that I survived." You burn the board, not because you're afraid, but because you no longer need to prove anything. Every day is an act of will. You greet the morning with a cup of water. You kiss your beloved on the temple. You welcome strangers not with a sword, but with bread. You see a bird in the sky and you don't think that it will fly away and you'll be left behind, because you've already flown. Inside, back, into yourself. You and Unia are sitting on a hill. Below, the field is golden from the sun. The wind is light, warm, and clean. You're lying on your back, and she's weaving a wreath. She laughs when it doesn't work out. "I never knew how," she says. "Me too," you reply. "But you're a gladiator. You're supposed to know how to do everything." You smile. Now I'm just a person learning to be calm." Conversation. She lies down next to you. She's silent for a long time. Then she asks, "Do you miss it?" "Miss what?" "The arena, the fighting, the shouting." You stay silent. You look up at the sky. Sometimes you answer honestly, not the shouting, but the clarity. There, everything was simple. It was either you or them. But here, everything is more complicated, more subtle, and you regret choosing this path. "Not for a second," you say, "because this path is with you." She rests her head on your shoulder. "I was afraid I'd lose you. I was afraid the arena wouldn't let you go. It's still inside me," you admit, "but now it's just a room I don't live in anymore." Tereshin Iri Kirishuri Chayatland, K Charib, Daven Rivo, Mr. Dukin. One day you take the sword from the shelf, open the chest, place it inside, and close it. "Don't need it anymore?" "It's not mine anymore." "But you were strong with it," says Unia. "I became stronger when I learned to put down my weapon, and to hold instead a hand or bread or you." The last scar. One day, a boy in the village asks, "Uncle Novice, what's that on your neck?" You answer, "It's a scar, a memory." "Did it hurt?" "It did." "And now?" You lean down to him and say quietly, "Now, it's just a story." Evening, after everything, you and Unia are sitting by the fire. The silence is soft, like wool. You look at the flames. She looks at you. "What now?" she asks. You smile. Tomorrow is a new day. I'll go to the river, cut down 2 new poles, try to build a raft. Maybe we'll float the honey to the market. "Honey? You, a gladiator turned beekeeper? Why not?" You say. "Who said I always have to be who I was?" She nods and, hugging you, whispers, "You're still a gladiator, just now for life." Conclusion. At dawn, you stand by the river, a pole in your hands, water beneath your feet. You gaze at the horizon, where Rome once was, where the arena stood, where the shouts echoed. You don't hate, you don't fear. You just know that it's all behind you. The fighting is behind you, the blood is behind you, slavery is behind you. Ahead, just a day, just bread, just Unia, just you. You're not a hero, not a saint, not a legend. You are a person who chose to be yourself. And that's enough.